Alright, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live right here, right now with the one and only, the legendary. We got Born Twice right here, live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. What's going on?
I'm doing pretty good down here in Canada, man. Hope all is well with yourself out there in Houston.
Yeah, everything's good in Houston, man.
But I know you're a busy guy, man, so I'm going to dive right into this interview. But I got to ask you, taking you back to the very beginning of your career, like, what actually inspired and sparked the legendary career of Born Twice?
Um, I mean, originally, I think everybody has something that's in them. That's something that they're good at. Everybody got to find out what it is. You got to tap into it, and I was just able to find out what mine was early. I knew what my path was. Growing up in New York and New Jersey, and listening to WBLS, Kiss FM and 92 KTU, and stuff like that. Being in the village in New York and just being exposed to so much art at one time, just kind of knew. You knew what you wanted to do. I did.
And when you obviously when you moved to New Jersey out to Houston, like was it difficult to actually obviously you had the New Jersey accent and whatnot and the New Jersey flow, like was it difficult to transition into Southern hip hop?
I mean, I think good is just good. You know what I mean? Like if you listen to like Bun B or some, shout out to Bun B. That's my brother. Shout out to the org. I think, some people, articulate and some people not articulate. Just a matter of not necessarily where you're from. Sometimes it's just, how you lock in your flow. And certain people can just flow with a southern twang and certain people don't. From the South, it's a lot of people in the South that talk very clearly. So, I mean, it just depends, man. It was beautiful playing a part in building hip hop in Houston. When I left Jersey and I brought it with me. R.I.P. to my brother Rick, King Ricardo, Royal Flush. Shout out to my cousin Al B. We started Royal Flush, and we just brought it with us, and we just stuck with what was true to our heart, man, and it worked out.
And that was actually my next question, man, because one of my favorite records actually is by Royal Flush is actually Uh-Oh, Suckers, Come to War. And I noticed as well that you actually did some writing on that under the alias B2 Omega. I was wondering, man, can you tell us a bit more about just doing the writing on that record? And of course, like, how did yourself and the rest of the members of Royal Flush actually get connected?
We from Jersey. All of us are from Jersey originally. Once we got to Houston, man, we just became more of a group, like musically. So we just basically was able to capitalize on something that was in our hearts. And it was funny because Houston didn't really have hip hop like that at first. So we was bringing something brand new, and we was good at it, and we honed our craft and sharpened our skills, man. And if you had never been to a Royal Flush show, it was something else, man. Like I said, R.I.P. to King Ricardo, my brother Rick, and Al B. Shout out to Al B. Out there in Cayman Islands, my brother, man. So, we just was able to come together and make it happen, man, without too much of a problem. Because when you love something, you can get good at it because you'll spend a lot of time with it. So we did.
And also as well, I read that one of your first musical mentors was actually an individual by the name of Lloyd Hughes. I was wondering, how did yourself and Lloyd get connected, and of course, what actually sparked that mentorship?
together when it was time to do You Have the Right to Remain Violent, the first album. He and I was already working together. I had already owned the studio, so he and I kind of united forces with his studio, and he allowed me to come in, and just worked out, man. I mean, to this day, he's still my musical mentor, one of the greatest jazz horn players that you're ever gonna hear. So shout out to Lloyd Hughes, and look out for Lloyd Hughes' album. It's gonna be great, man. A jazz album.
And also as well, man, in the year 1991, you actually released a single on a 12-inch vinyl titled "Child for Freestyle" over at Righteous Records. I was wondering, can you tell us a bit more about that single, and of course, how did you actually land that deal with Righteous Records?
That was my first company. I never signed to nobody. I always owned my own shit. My bad. Can I curse on it?
Oh, most definitely. We're uncensored. Have at it.
Okay. Yeah, man. I always was owner of my own shit. To this day, I own everything I've ever done. So if anybody got any questions or they want to use anything I've ever done or whatever, they gotta ask me. You gotta talk to me first. And I love that. I love that idea of ownership. And more brothers need to, focus on that. And Jay Prince, people like that taught me that a long time ago. Still in my heart to this day. Own your shit. Own what you do.
And I gotta say, that's actually phenomenal advice, man. Especially back in the 90s. Like, it's weird. Everybody now wants to be independent, but back in the 90s and the 80s, everybody was searching that record deal, man. So you most definitely had that business mentality to really be like, you know what, screw a deal. I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm gonna own what I do. And man, look at you now, because there's some of your records, man, that are actually really up there in price.
Yeah, I think I've seen on Amazon one of my CDs. I think it's the Portrait of a Serial Player CD. I think they sell it for like $1,000 for one CD. So that was kind of mind blowing. But what happened was I discontinued the entire catalog. I just did some deals with Spotify and some other streaming services, Tidal, and some more people to stream the music. But I own it, so I can do whatever I want with it. Right now, it's getting hot again because the 90s, it's everything from the 90s is hot. So it's exciting. But again, it would be painful for me to have to watch people fall in love with something that I did years ago, and I didn't own it. Like I was watching somebody else get paid all over again. That'd be painful. But I mean, fortunately, God bless me, so I ain't got to do that.
And as for Portrait of a Serial Player, like when I looked it up when I was doing the research for the interview, and I saw the one that I saw was actually $969. Like, I was wondering, is that you putting that up for sale, or is that just some like third party like seller, like an individual that owned the record back in the 90s and just decided to sell his copy?
Yeah, that's somebody from back in the 90s. Well, see, when I discontinued the catalog, you'll be able to hear all of the records again soon and buy and purchase some if you want to digitally and stream them. But you couldn't do that for many years because I wouldn't let you. Well, when I did that, it made the value of it go through the roof. Like I didn't realize that was gonna. I thought that might happen. Don't get me wrong. I was kind of like I'm a businessman, so I kind of knew that might happen, but I didn't think it would happen to that extent, like $1,000 for one CD. But yeah, I mean, I always was a cat. Unfortunately, I grew up kind of messed up, so I was in the streets like heavy. So by the time I had already started a recording studio and my first record company, Righteous Records, and all of that. Shout out to Jay Prince. Shout out to Doug King, my partner at the time with the studio. Jay Prince allowed us to have it, make a lot happen with him and Rapala Records at the same time. And some crazy stuff went down at the studio, but it never stopped the family, never stopped the brotherhood. But at the end of the day, man, it's just always good to have brothers, always good to have family. I still talk to Jay Prince, still talk to, even some of the guys that, people wouldn't think I talked to from back in the day. We still got conversations too. So it's just all about the love, man.
And also, as well, you were actually a member of the original Rapala Mafia Syndicate. I was wondering, like, what's the story behind that group? And of course, like, as you already mentioned, like, you know Jay Prince very well. But how did you actually meet the other members as well? Or, like, how did that group just form?
You said original, the Mafia. Well, I don't understand the question.
Oh, sorry, the Rapala Syndicate.
But it's not. Rapala is my original family in Houston. That's who I started with, and we didn't even know if you could have a record company. We just knew we was going to do the shit under the leadership of Jay Prince, and it worked out. But when I went to the West Coast and partnered with Ice-T, that's when the Syndicate became a part of my life, and the love that I got from them is just a whole nother level. That's an interview in itself, believe me. My time on the West Coast with King T, shout out to King T, Ice-T, performing at the Roxy together on stage, like some of the greatest moments, man. So that's a whole nother thing. You could say because I was a respected member of Rapala Mafia, when I got to the West Coast, I united it with the Syndicate, and it's been beautiful, man. We just never really talked about it publicly because it's not for that. It's for more of a brotherhood, and we was able to connect those dots, man, and keep everything peaceful. And that's what real power does. It maintains peace. So, it's beautiful, man. Like I said, that's probably a whole other entity.
And also, you were actually the CEO and founder of Biga Entertainment. I was wondering, what made you decide to create Biga Entertainment? And of course, what services do you actually offer to the general public today?
We still, I actually shut my record company down for many years. Like I said, when I discontinued the catalog, I kind of just shut everything down for many years, closed my offices. I dumped a lot of money into Biga, and you can take a lot of losses in the entertainment industry before you see a profit. And but when you love something, you're gonna just keep doing it. It doesn't matter how much money you sink into it. Eventually, something good will happen. I've had successes and I've had losses as well as a businessman. I've had some good success as an artist, but as a businessman, I've had to take many losses. But you do what you love, and you never really work a day in your life. So it's so good.
And also, as well, like you said, going back to just owning your own stuff.
I do own Biga. Yeah, that's mine too.
And also, like you said, going back to owning your own stuff, owning your own company and your imprint is even better as well for your music. That way, you have a company associated with everything as a whole enterprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good feeling, but it's a lot of hard work. Like, it's not, everybody. I was one of the original people that owned everything I do. Like, I think it might have been me back then, maybe Luke, and that actually was the performer that owned the company that you performed on. It wasn't that many people like us, and I've been able to just maintain it. But ultimately, yeah, it's the best feeling in the world because, if it's art, you don't want. Sometimes when you sign your art over to somebody else, they can scribble on your painting. That makes any sense. Or they can throw extra coat of paint on your painting. They can do whatever they want with it. And it's just something about me. I just never really. I just couldn't do. I couldn't do that. Like, my music serves my family. It feeds my kids. It feeds my great grandkids, my grandkids, whatever. Like, that's intellectual property for them.
also as well, when you brought up earlier on the interview about Bun B, I also noticed that you actually teamed up to create the song The Seven Executioners. I gotta ask you, what's the story behind that collaboration? And of course, how did yourself and Bun initially get connected?
It's funny, man. Bun is super, super, super good guy. Gangster dude, but very, very good guy. Like, and you know, God has blessed me to gravitate towards guys that are gangster, but just super good-hearted guys. And I think you'll find that most of the tough guys, the real tough guys that you'll meet, are really calm, cool dudes that you just can't fuck with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Bun actually approached me after I dropped my first record, For Freestyle. Shout out to EST Posse, YZ, and Be Fine, and Pumpin' Sweet Love. Happy birthday to Pumpin' Sweet Love. I think it's his birthday today, actually. But when I connected with them and we did that record, Bun is just a super, super student of music. So I was actually, I just left Shoutouts Mall shopping, but Bun walked up to me in the mall, and I was thinking, you know, type of dude that I was at that time, I didn't know if it was an enemy or a friend. And he walked up to me with a smile on his face, so I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he was like, I ain't tripping with you, homie. I'm Bun B from UGK." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm a fan." So we just walked together in the mall, did a little shopping together, and we became fast friends. Like, at that time, I was heavy in the streets. I already had houses and cars and all that kind of shit. And I was very young, but I invited Bun over to one of my houses. I had a beautiful house with a jacuzzi in it, a game room, and all kind of shit. And Bun came by there, and we just kicked it, man. Hung out all night. I had a recording studio, little area where I was making music and making beats on an MPC 60. That's how long ago that was. And Bun and them was fascinated by it. And we just sat there and made beats and made music, and I banged out. I programmed 7 executioners, finished the song. Bun wrote his lyrics. I wrote my lyrics. Shout out again to my big brother, King Ricardo from Royal Flush, because he wrote pretty much everybody else's shit on that. Like, pretty much. I wrote mine. Bun wrote his. Big Mun, I think he wrote Big Mun's part. I think he wrote Sugar's part. I think he definitely, I think he pretty much wrote the rest of the entire song. He was a genius, man, with that ink pen, man. And I'm gonna miss him, man. I love him to death.
Oh man, I gotta say, man, Bun B most definitely is such a talented individual, man. You know what I mean? I really love a lot of the work he does within hip hop, man. My personal opinion, anything that man touches, most definitely solidifies itself.
Yeah, Bun is definitely an anointed individual, not just with the ink pen lyrically with hip hop, but just a great-hearted individual. Like, you know, I think if he ever runs for mayor or governor of Texas, I'll be right there pulling and voting for him.
But I gotta ask you, Born, like, what is next for you? Because I do know when we were speaking on the phone, you were working on some things, but that's why I didn't bring it up, because I don't know if it's really out there yet. But what is next for you? Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else I missed? Any new stuff you want to promote that you're currently working on?
Yeah, we got this last book, film, and a soundtrack, which is pretty much the last album I'm doing. It's called Omerta, which is the Mafia code of silence in the streets. That's my book. That's the soundtrack. I mean, the documentary film, and that's the soundtrack. So we trying to finish that, which is just telling you about my life, because my life has always been weird because I wasn't really wanting to be famous. I just wanted to create art, and then people gravitated to that art. But I was just in the streets. And when you're in the streets, you really don't want attention. So it's dealing with my life from North New Jersey. Shout out to the Sawab family, my big brother, Al Saman Sawab, Ali Sawab, And R.I.P. to Abdullah, my big brother. Uh, and free Akbar Prey. Let me say that in this interview. Free my Uncle Akbar Prey, man. Y'all need to let him go. He's a nonviolent offender, and he's a really special individual that can change a lot of young lives in North New Jersey. Y'all need to let him go. But basically, dealing with that family, then moving to Houston, dealing with Jay Prince and the Rapala Mafia, and then moving to the West Coast and dealing with the Syndicate with Ice-T. Shout out to Ice-T, that's still my big brother to this day. And we won a Grammy, man. Shout out to the whole body count, man, for winning that Grammy, man. We did that. The whole family, man, is very excited about that in the Syndicate. So it's dealing with my life, dealing with all of those street situations and keeping my damn mouth shut and maintaining the code, which is something that these youngsters probably need to hear today because a lot of people ain't doing it.
But also, Born Twice, this is the time in the interview, quickly, right before I wrap things up, that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated everything Born Twice if they're not already doing so.
Y'all in Canada, right?
Correct.
Shout out to Greta Oniagwa. I think she's one of the people that's on the All-American show or something like that. But you can catch me at The Real Big Born Twice. You can catch me Big Born Twice on Facebook. Like I said, I'm not, I feel like if you make great art, people will find you. So I'm not, I'm not out here trying to, overwhelmingly promote something. I feel like if I make something great enough, people will find it. So I'm gonna stick to that and trying to put this last project out called Omerta and hope that people find it.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Born, thank you so much for making years of phenomenal music, man. I most definitely grew up, you know what I mean, on You Have the Right to Remain Violent and Portrait of a Serial Player, and you know what I mean? And I just gotta say thank you for years of amazing music, man. Your music most definitely defined a generation and most definitely helped a lot of individuals through a lot of difficult times. So for that, on behalf of myself and the rest of our listeners and fans worldwide, thank you for everything you did.
Thank you to everybody you just said and all of your listeners and yourself, because without you guys, man, it made it worthwhile. When people walk up to me, I was locked up in prison and some dude walked up to me and they knew who I was. That kind of blew my mind. Like, the whole thing is you never really realize the impact that when you create some art and you put it out to the world, you never know the impact that it can have. So it's been a blessing. It's been a lesson, but it's also been a blessing. So thank you to you guys too.
You are most certainly welcome, Born. And I'm looking forward to many more years to come as well. But for now, most definitely have yourself a wonderful night, and most definitely stay safe out there out in Houston.
All right, y'all too, my brother.
Thank you so much. Have yourself
a
wonderful
man.
night.
From America to Canada, man. Peace and love, man.
Hey, peace and love to you as well. Thank you so much, Born. Have yourself a wonderful night.
You too, brother.